Greetings, everyone. So, tonight I felt like commenting on the situation with Mike Rinder, Claire Headley, Mark Headley, the Aftermath Foundation, and also things that are going on in the SPTV world, which is anything but drama. And I'm not going to go too deep without beating the drum over and over. You guys know that I was a social worker. I don't do that kind of work anymore. I had a bachelor degree in social work, never got my master's, don't want my master's. So a lot of this just comes from working in the nonprofit world, as well as life experience, mixed in a little with the military, just based on experience. And I will be respectful and courteous, even though I don't think some of these people deserve it. And I'm going to be, in some cases, I may allude to something because I want to maybe explain my opinion just without defaming character. Even though when you're considered a public figure like Mike Rinder, Claire Headley, Mark Headley, in being public figures, you have a certain amount of criticism that you have to expect. And I'm not going to diagnose, even though I do see a lot of narcissistic traits. I don't know if it's the Scientology policies that completely corrupted people's brains, or if they're actually narcissistic in nature. But I can agree that how some of these people are acting is very rude, disrespectful, unprofessional, and they are breaking a lot of ethical codes right now. Potentially even breaking some laws. I'm not sure, but I didn't read the blog post that Mike Rinder did, nor do I want to read it. I couldn't care less, to be honest. I care, but what I mean is so many other people are covering it, and literally Mike Rinder is the person making himself look bad. At this point, nobody else is doing it. And he's acting as if he's still in OSA, which he's not. And nor does he have the protection of Scientology or their money. And like that old saying, he's hanging himself with his own rope in his behaviors. So I want to bring up Miriam Francis. I'm kind of dyslexic, so I keep forgetting her name messed up. But Miriam Francis. And the only thing I want to say really on that is how tragic it is. And I will try not to cry just because it's so very sad to me. What she went through as a little girl in Scientology, being essayed repeatedly by her own father, her mother taken away, and yes, her mother had parental responsibilities. I forgot the whole story, but I think the mother was taken to a different post or something. But the immensity and tragicness of, after all the things that this poor woman has been through as a child, as a child, essayed repeatedly over and over by her birth biological father for many years. I don't know how many years, but a lot. To go to Scientology, I'm not sure who she went to, but if anybody thinks Rinder didn't know, I mean, come on now. I'm not saying I don't want to say too much, but the point is, she's got all this trauma. She never got any help. I believe she was pushed out of Scientology. I can't remember. Or she left on her own accord once she got older. I don't remember how it exactly went. Never got any help for the SA. Probably was told that she was out 2D and pulled it in. Her father got no punishment whatsoever. And at some point, I remember her saying that Scientology moved her to a different place, a different location, where she wasn't exposed to her father. But then, years later, she was put back with him, where he continued the SA with no punishment. So she goes to the aftermath to ask for help for her post-traumatic stress disorder or her CPTSD. I'm not sure. I think that would be CPTSD. I know she went to Mike Rinder for help. Well, yeah, she asked Mike Rinder for some help. I'm just summing this up because I don't know all the details, just know the basics. And instead of helping her, he's chastising her, not willing to help. I know at some point she sent like a whole list of email questions. So I think the first thing that transpired was Mike Rinder was afraid she recorded him. And I can't say what I think about because I can't say that publicly online. The second part is he sends her, after he's not getting the response from her that he wants, he gets real nasty with her. I don't know in what order this is, but she compiled like a list of maybe 14 questions, something like that, per email, asking him very detailed questions about his involvement in covering up her SA abuse. I'm not 100% certain who directly was involved in it, but I cannot imagine that Rinder didn't know anything about it. So then Mike Rinder retains a lawyer, responds to her. Victim of child SA while in Scientology. In addition to this nasty, curt email from his lawyer, or aftermath lawyer, I'm not sure which one. And that's a whole nother thing right there. He adds something about if you sleep with dogs, you get fleas. Victim of child sexual abuse from her father. Asks for help, and that's how she's treated. So, this might be a long one. Immediately, there's an abuse of power here. Number one. There's so many ethical codes that are broken, I don't even know where to begin. And I'm not going to cover all of them. You guys are smart. You know which ones I'm talking about, probably. In addition to the breaking of confidentiality, which that alone should just shut the aftermath down. So, there's that, right? Then all this craziness with his blog response. Breaking of confidentiality, which is rule number 1 in nonprofit. Number two, calling victims or clients names. It's name calling, very narcissistic trait right there. And also, with everything that went on with Aaron Smith Levin, like the level of unprofessionalism is just, they all need to step down. I'm not saying that I don't have compassion for what they've been through, but they're all big girls and big boys, and they need to be held responsible. None of those behaviors are acceptable, aside from them not being transparent, because there's none. And then secondly, they're acting like they're all still in OSA, which they're not. And then the whole fraternization that they're all partying and going to barbecues and all that together. You know, I think Marilyn, she covered that. Okay. As far as, I'm going to go back to Miriam Francis and the other victims. I don't even like that word, but just to keep everything clear, we're going to use that word. So, when all those things happened with Aaron Smith Levin, my first thought was that's 100% a setup. That was like and not only was it a setup, like it was just so obvious. And I'm not going to share everything that I think because I could be sued for slander or defamation. But that girl that Aaron Smith Levin was with, I don't think Scientology hired her. And that's all I'm going to say. It could have been, it does, I don't think it's random. Put it like this. If you wanted to do a hostile takeover of a foundation, and my personal opinion is there's a lot of jealousy going on. Yeah, Aaron is a little wild. I mean, I don't think he's like 100% wild. He probably was doing crazy things, driving everyone nuts. That I understand. But that's not reason to dismiss him. And in the end, it's all going to turn out for the best because what it did was it showed everyone's colors, which was great, right? The masks fell off. So the patterns that I'm seeing is that, and a lot of people, I'm probably going to repeat what a lot of people are saying. The people that need help are not getting help. And as I said, I worked as a social worker. I did various things. I worked with veterans. I worked with elderly. I worked nonprofit hotline, which I wouldn't recommend to anyone, but it was good. It was very good experience. I worked with homeless people. I worked with mentally ill people. I worked with adolescents. I worked with young people that had autism. I worked with all kinds of people. And there's just too many ethical rules and standards that they have broken. You know, and I personally have questions about all the money that's being donated to the aftermath. And then you're putting all these hindrances and making people answer all these questions. I don't think that it's probably legal because they do have like 100,000 lawyers up there, but I don't know that that's how a nonprofit board is supposed to be run. When you get a person who was sexually abused as a child in Scientology, and he or she is coming to you for help, and I have never in my life, as long as I've lived, ever heard of a victim of sexual abuse coming to an organization for help, which you already have all the social work ethical codes that you have to follow, that you're supposed to follow. I have never ever heard of an abused child or adult that was coming forward after child SA, or even as an adult SA, having to to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Never. I've never heard of it. Ever. When victims or people, that have issues that are coming to social workers or counselors, which I'm not a counselor, or whatever your title is, like for a while I was Veterans Service Representative, for a while I was Veterans Employment Specialist. I had different titles. But when a client is coming to you for help, it's confidential. That's the laws. Those are the laws, man. So I don't have anything personal against Rinder or Claire or Mark Headley, but and I'm not saying they haven't helped people. I'm honestly sick of hearing that, because in any profession, social worker, nurse, doctor, police officer, it's always implied that you're doing your job when you help people. So nobody owes you. Nobody owes you when you help them. That's what you're supposed to do. It's your job. So that, now that we got that out of the way. So back to the Headleys. I don't know as much about Amy Scobie and her husband. I've heard some things about them. I don't know, but I just, as a basic rule in my mind of everything that I've heard, I don't think anyone that was in the upper management in any shape or form in Scientology, I don't think any of them should be on the board. They could advise on the side because they have knowledge, but I don't think any of them should be board members. It's conflict of interest. You're asking people that are victims that have been through heinous abuse to go back to their abusers, to basically beg for help, like Miriam Francis was asked. And honestly, I'm still upset about that. So I feel like everyone on that board needs to step down. Whew, now that you guys know how I really feel. Okay, I'm thinking. Just give me a second here. So I can't help but think of the military phrase, dereliction of duty. I don't know how else, like in the civilian world, how you'd say it. So I guess in the civilian world, you're going to say job duties, which I got lots of opinions on that crap. But I saw a little bit of Liz Gale's video earlier. Very well done. I'm going to watch it tomorrow because I got to eventually get some sleep here. But I liked how she was breaking down the mission statement. I think it was the mission statement of the aftermath. I've never seen a mission statement that needs more work in my life. And it's okay. I mean, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect either. Gosh, I'm like not even close to perfect. But everything that the second generation Scientologists have been politely recommending, they keep ignoring, which also amplifies the fact that they all need to step down. And the way they handled that whole Aaron situation, 100% a setup. And not only was it a setup, I think Mike Rinder just wanted Aaron out. Maybe Aaron was stressful. I mean, I could kind of see Aaron maybe being, he's got all kinds of energy and stuff. That might be a little stressful. But there was nothing to deem him, unworthy of being on that board. But, it'll all work out in the end. The other part, let's see. I basically like how Mike Brown covered, what was said in the blog. He was very, very neutral. I know it can't be easy to be neutral because The level of disrespect that Mike Rinder had, it was just unbelievable. And even me, I'm disappointed in Mike Rinder. I mean, I didn't know him personally, but I was listening to all the Fair Game podcasts. I was watching all of him and Leah's YouTube videos. You know, I mean, I get it kind of goes to show that you just don't know people on YouTube. I mean, I kind of know that, but I just got this impression of him being a certain way, and I believe that was a facade. I believe that was a facade. So I don't want to talk about Rinder all day. I mean, it's kind of, at this point, it's getting old because accountability, which none of them are taking, zero, zero of anyone on the aftermath. Nobody's taken any accountability. No apologies, no nothing. And just all the confidential information that was leaked, that is an automatic disbar. It's an automatic step down. If not, it actually that could even land people in jail. It could land people in jail. You're not allowed to share confidential information like that. Not at all. So, and also this debacle is courtesy of Merriam-Webster Dictionary. What else was I going to comment on? Oh, okay. There's one other thing I'm going to comment on. And I don't want this to get like super long. It probably already is, but I don't want it to be like insanely long. So, I think I just forgot what I was going to say. Oh, geez. Let's see. Oh, let me think here. You guys, I think I lost my thought here. It was there. It was something that just happened. There's just so much going on. I can't remember. So I guess I'll have to, whatever my thought was, I'll have to do another video another time. Have a good night. Peace.